Oh, hello there. Didn't see you there. You sort of caught me at an inopportune time. Hello, everyone. Britton here, and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm doing a special sort of video. This is actually the first part of a new series I'm going to be starting on my channel that will be very reoccurring because, well, this really took a long time to put together because I've been busy with life and school and all that crap you can imagine. But it is called character analysis, or just analysis in general, where I'm basically going to be analyzing characters or things or movies or shows that I like, that I think are worthy of consideration, that I feel warrant deeper analysis than the regular old reviews that I give on my channel. And the first episode we're doing today is about Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. In particular, the character of the Will, the main antagonist of the series. He is also this guy. He's that guy right there. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the Will today. I'm really excited. My buddy Epic Tales actually inspired me to start this because he has a similar bit on his channel. And also, if he wants to do some of his editing magic on this video with my audio, then, like, go ahead, man. Go nuts. I would love to see what you would do, but you might have to read Saga first. Also, I should warn before I get into this that there will be a shitload of spoilers. I will basically be spoiling the whole series till around issue 54. I'm not going to talk about the most recent ones because, well, I find that well, they're not really complete yet. The Will's arc from Volume 1 to Volume 9, I feel like, is a complete arc from has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Though, the series is still going. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about the Will today, from issues 1 to 54. The Will, in particular, I'm not really going to be talking about, I'm not going to be talking about the most recent volumes that have come out. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about Saga today. I'm going to be talking about the Will. I won't waste you guys' time anymore than I probably already have. So, let's get to it. So, who is the Will? The Will is a major character from Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples' comic Saga, right here. He is arguably the main antagonist of the series after Prince, later Sir Robot, decides to turn a new leaf and join our scrappy heroes. At first, when we meet the Will, one might fight the urge to laugh. He's almost a stereotype. He's some badass dude with a stupid cape, weapons, and some weird, freaky animal sidekick. I mean, look at this guy. He looks like a freaking stereotype. He looks like a Star Wars reject. I mean, my god, it's ridiculous. But, I mean, there's a joke in there somewhere about how, cliche he is. But once we get to know him, we see that there's more than meets the eye. We don't know too much about his backstory aside from the couple of flashes we see from his memories when he's held hostage by Inithe, I think? Iantha is probably how it's pronounced? I don't know. Who he killed her husband back on Sextillion, if I remember correctly. We also see some other flashbacks, brief flashbacks, when he's fighting Marco in the penultimate issue 54. In those, we see that he was abused by his father, who was implied to have sexually abused his sister, Sophie, who would later become the Brand, another freelancer. And to make matters worse, his uncle, who was also a freelancer, killed his father in front of him and the Brand. It's likely that he and the Brand became freelancers as a result of their uncle, and that's basically where he starts out at the beginning of the series. The Will is shown to be a pretty tenacious guy as we see up through the series. He gets shot, stabbed, beaten, tortured, thrown through a window, choked out, and almost decapitated by a shield, and the guy still keeps coming. In other words, they call him the Will for a reason. By the time we meet him, he's been a freelancer for some time, taking on contracts and the like. When he is given a contract by Wreath to take care of two deserters, Marco and Elena, these two on the beginning right here, these two on the cover, who had just recently had a baby, and to bring the baby to Wreath once he's taken care of the deserters. And that's where the story begins. What ultimately makes the Will's character arc hit so hard is that Vaughan and Staples told us who the Will was and what he would do, and then they went on to break our hearts anyway by making us feel bad for the Will and the hope for him to do better. His arc is not about how he becomes the villain of the story, but how he was the villain all along. we just didn't want to see it. Even when we first meet him, Vaughan throws a smokescreen in your eyes by having him balk at how the reef head honcho killed a beautiful creature, as he puts it. But even then, Vaughan gives us hints at the darkness that lingers inside when he offers to drown baby Hazel. It's pretty messed up. Vaughan even throws more smoke in our eyes when he decides to save the young slave girl that he decides to name Sophie after his sister, the Brand. And he showcases more human parts of himself, such as his devastation about the death of his former lover, the Stalk, his attempts at forming genuine relationships with Sophie, the slave girl Sophie, and eventually Gwendolyn, who is Marco's ex-fiancée, girlfriend, lady. It's complicated. And also his intense despair after his sister, the Brand Sophie, dies. But more astute readers probably didn't forget what Hazel said at the very beginning about him being a fucking monster, as she puts it, and giving hints that eventually the Will is going to do something horrible to Hazel's beloved family. But despite the Will's more odious qualities, we get a well-rounded version of who he is and what he wants and what he cares about as the story moves along. Saga is I hope you can pardon the pun, a saga about family. Both the ones we're born into, as well as the ones we create along the way. And the Will showcases that, deep down, he wants a family. He wants people who will love him unconditionally, no matter what, since the people who were supposed to do that did such a terrible job at it. I think the most telling part of who the Will is as a person comes from a conversation that Sophie has with her namesake, the Brand. The Brand explains that this silly cape that he wears isn't a freelancer standard, but it's just something from a show that the Will really liked when he was a kid. While that's a funny bit that humanizes his character and really gives some more depth to him, I think it also illustrates who the Will is. Despite the violence, despite all the crap he's gone through, despite all the chaos he has wrought across the universe. A traumatized, broken little boy who doesn't know who he is or what he wants in life. So he distracts himself by hurting other people in the ways that he had been hurt, because that's all he knows. The Will is a bad man, no doubt, but there are flickers in the comic and within his soul that he wants to do good, which we see by his relationships with Sophie and Gwendolyn and also the Brand. But he's so traumatized and broken by his experiences that he keeps sliding back into what he's comfortable with, so he doesn't have to deal with his problems in a healthy way. To keep a long story short, the Will goes through a pretty raw deal as the comic goes along. The Brand dies, he blows up his relationship with the other Sophie, he gets addicted to drugs and becomes a fat sad sack, he gets kidnapped and tortured, and then finally, when he's given the opportunity to complete the mission that he was given in the first place, and also finds the guy who murdered his ex-girlfriend, he snaps completely. He kills Prince, now Sir Robot, and throws down with Marco, and oh boy is it an epic confrontation. Marco actually gains the upper hand though, but chooses not to kill the Will. Sadly, the Will repays Marco's kindness by killing him. Marco's death is not only devastating because of the obvious, he was a great character, he was so lovable, he's probably the kindest character in the whole series, and just a beautiful soul all around. I can't even believe I'm saying this about a character who was drawn in a comic book, but yet that guy right there, that guy. But it's true. He was a great character, and it was really sad to see him go. And it was also particularly devastating that it was the Will who did it. Because all the signs were there all along. We just didn't want to see it. What makes this even worse is that this was who the Will was all along. A killer. A man who is traumatized and inflicts traumas on others, even children, without remorse. With this act, we really see the Will finally seeming to accept that he is the villain of this story. To start this section, I must quote a post that I read on Reddit from Professional NPC, so if you ever watch this, which I don't know if he'll ever watch this, or she, I don't know what gender they are, but if they ever watch this, thank you for this quote. I think this really was really helpful about Saga, and I think it really helps my point, so if you ever watch this for any reason, thank you, but I'm going to quote it now. I think he's, the Will, a perfect microcosm of what the comic is about. Glass breaking glass. There's very few entirely good or bad people. It's just a bunch of people broken by war and only seeing things from their own sliver of perspective. They are broken people that break other people who go on to break other people. And the will, at his core, showcases what Saga is about. The cyclical nature as well as the futility of violence. The will was born into violence, was molded by it, and it's all he knows. He has been hurt by the world, so why not repay the favor and earn some cash while he's at it? But he's empty inside, and he doesn't really have anyone in his corner. The will is hurt, so he hurts others, because that's all he knows how to do. His arc culminates in him realizing that he is the villain of this story. And you know what? That's okay with him. We also see Saga explore what happens when a person doesn't have a family. As mentioned before, it's clear that the will wants a family of his own. He desperately wants people who will care about him, who will love him no matter what. Yet because of his wildly self-destructive nature and his inability to truly change, keeps him shackled in a life that brings him no satisfaction. Without a family, or anyone who really loves him, or cares about him, or really cares about who he is. The will lashes out at the world around him, and is doomed to keep repeating the cycle of violence that has victimized him, and what he's victimized others with. I had a conversation with my friend Josh about Saga and the will, and he asked me what I think the will would do to redeem himself, which is actually what inspired this video. The thing is, I don't think that the will's arc will be a redemptive one, but I do think his story is a tragedy. He's a bad man who on some level wants to be good, but he's so lost within the violence that he surrounds himself with, as well as the inner darkness that he has, that there's no way out by this point. But ultimately what makes him a tragedy, as well as what makes him the perfect villain for this series, is that he has no one. All the characters in the series has someone who they care about and who care about them. Even Sir Robot, who's a huge prick, has someone who he cares about and who cares about him unconditionally with his son. The will? He has nobody. He has nothing. And that's what makes him so tragic. The Brand and the Stalk are dead. Sophie's gone. Gwendolyn doesn't give a damn about him except for what he can do for her. The will has gotten the rawest deal out of all the Saga characters, and it causes him to double down on his path and keep doing what he does. And he keeps on going down the path of violence because deep down, he's afraid. If he decides to let go of this violence that exists in him, then what will he be? A broken man with no family, no friends, no direction, no purpose, and a bunch of people whose lives he's ruined as a result of his job, and probably just want to kill him for the trouble. And that's ultimately why I think the will is the most tragic character of Saga, and why I think that he is my favorite character, because he is such a tragedy, and also the reasons I mentioned before. That was a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, this is a new thing I'm trying out. This is going to be a recurring series, so don't expect this to have like a, like every month or something like that. This might come out every 2 months, because, again, this took a lot of time to put together. I had to write it. I had to refine it a bit. I had to find the time to do it. And, yeah, you get the idea. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, though. If you guys want, you can find me on Twitter. I am at Samohidon on Twitter. I'm on Goodreads and Letterboxd, where I write reviews that are probably more coherent than the one you just heard right now. You can also find me on Discord. I really enjoy being on there. And also like, comment, subscribe, as my friend John from Talking Story likes to say. It feels good when you like and subscribe. It doesn't take any time at all. Just a boop, just do that. It feels good. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you want more, if there's any other characters or things you want me to analyze, I already have stuff I want to analyze, and other characters I want to analyze too, but, yeah, that's kind of all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.